Hello and welcome everyone to the Global Youth Challenge 2023. We are very excited to welcome our judges, competitors, and our audience here today. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special event. The 16 live finalist contestants will be sharing their ideas and solutions about climate change and the future of our world. This is our theme. The Global Youth Challenge provides opportunities for youth around the world to share their views on important world issues. In preparation for the GYC live final, all students participate in leadership training, master classes, open forum discussions on climate change, and presentation skills training. Congratulations to our top 16 finalists for going through the process of preparing for this special event. At this time, I would like to draw everyone's attention to a very important letter that we received with regard to congratulations for our event today. Next screen. Thank you. This is a message from our Prime Minister. Dear friends, I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone taking part in the 2023 Global Youth Challenge, or GYC. The annual Global Youth Challenge provides a forum for an international community of youth to express their views and propose creative solutions to current issues affecting humanity. This year's event brings together more than 1,000 young people from 20 countries to explore the topic of climate change and the future of our world. I would like to congratulate the participants and wish them the very best of luck. I am certain that you will come away from this rewarding experience with a sense of accomplishment. I would also like to thank the distinguished panel of professors, scientists, and scholars who will be lending their expertise to the proceedings. You can take pride in your commitment to fostering the development of informed and engaged citizens. Please accept my best wishes for an enriching experience and for every future success. Sincerely, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Cause and effects. And although it is important to keep our environment safe, we tend to forget that climate change also.
At this time, I would like to introduce our judging panel. First of all, I'd like to introduce Professor Katharine Hayhoe from Texas Tech University. She is Chief Scientist for the Nature Conservancy of the United States of America. I would also like to introduce Professor Liette Vasseur, Brock University, UNESCO Chair in Community Sustainability. I'd like to introduce Professor Chiyuan Miao from Beijing Normal University, and Professor Ruth Hayhoe from the University of Toronto, Development of Leadership, Higher Education and Adult Education at OISE, University of Toronto. Professor Howard Lin from Toronto Metropolitan University. And on site here with us today is Ms. Kelly Schultz from the University of Waterloo. And also on site with us today is Principal George Vanderkuur from the Toronto Central Academy. Welcome, judges. Thank you so much for volunteering your time today to join us for the Global Youth Challenge. I would like to welcome George Vanderkuur at this time to share some of his thoughts and ideas and some details about the history of the Global Youth Challenge. George.
Okay, I hope I'm on. And welcome everybody, both in the morning and in the afternoon, and especially our live audience here. We have a large live audience of students at the Arundel Academy. So this is the fourth year that the Youth Challenge has invited youth from around the world to take part in this competition. Here, through writing and art and speech, they have a platform for expressing their views on important issues that concern us all. Since 2019, our topics have been world peace, COVID, artificial intelligence, and this year the topic is climate change. I think we're lucky that every year we seem to pick something that is really topical for the times. The Arundel Academy and Toronto Central Academy are proud to sponsor this event, and we appreciate the many volunteers who made it possible. I hope today's presentations will inspire you, and if you are a student, you too will compete in next year's challenge, when the topic will be artificial intelligence and its effect on the world. And again, that's very topical right now, isn't it? And so, and just a little warning, this is a live program, and it's unrehearsed, and it involves a lot of technology. So I hope you will forgive us and be patient if there are a few bugs. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your support.
Thank you very much, George. At this time, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to the following institutions for their support. University of Waterloo. Brock University. The University of Toronto. Beijing Normal University, China. Toronto Metropolitan University. Texas Tech University, United States of America. The Arundel Academy. And Toronto Central Academy. Once again, thank you. I'd like to express our sincere gratitude for the support of these institutions for our Global Youth Challenge event. At this time, I will briefly explain the process and some of the details of this final and also the judging criteria for those who are watching and listening today. Next slide, please. The live final, once again, is being streamed live on YouTube and Bilibili. Once again, congratulations to the top 16 finalists. You have been chosen from hundreds of entries, so it is a significant accomplishment. We will divide these 16 finalists into 4 groups by alphabetical order by their first name. During the competition, each finalist will have between 3 and 4 minutes for their presentation, and they will be asked 1 question by 2 judges following their presentation. Each finalist will have an opportunity to respond to these 2 questions for a maximum of 2 minutes per question. And I will remind students to, at the best of your ability, to adhere to the 2-minute time limit for responding to questions. The judging criteria is originality, communications, accuracy, presentation, and speaking. Also, there will be voting, excuse me, for the most popular finalist. There will be judging that is linked to YouTube and Bilibili. So keep in mind for all of those who are present in our audience today, that you will be able to vote for your favorite finalist. Make sure you wait till the end, because you never know if finalist 16 might just be your favorite. All right, so our attention goes back to the screen. I would like to introduce Group 1 finalists for today. Finalist 1, Alexandra Ma. Finalist 2, Anne Nguyen. Finalist 3, Anthony Wang. Finalist 4, Daiqing Yang. Next slide, please. So Alexandra has the pleasure, and I think she might be very nervous about this. She has the honor of starting our presentations for today. As we begin, I would like to remind all of our finalists of some of the things that we talked about in your training for the presentations. Take a few deep breaths before you begin and lower your shoulders, sit up straight, take a breath. If you feel really nervous with your voice, you'll remember what I recommended you to do is sometimes to laugh, even if there's nothing to laugh about. So you see right there, I just laughed a little. It makes you feel a little bit less nervous. So Alexandra, I invite you to begin your presentation whenever you are ready. Now, Alexandra, we do not have sound. Just pause for a moment. Once again, we are live, so we will just take a moment to do our best. Alexandra, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Oh, that's great. And not to worry, everyone makes that little mistake at least once in their life, usually more. So once again, take a deep breath, smile, and it's your turn. You may begin whenever you're ready.
We've all heard of and perhaps even experienced the effects of global warming, but it's a term so commonly used that to many, it's lost its meaning. We're all aware of this threat, but we don't necessarily understand it. And without recognizing what causes it, as well as how exactly it works, we cannot defeat it. I'd like to thank today's judges and the Global Youth Challenge for this amazing opportunity to share my voice. I am Alexandra Ma, a 9th grade student from Ontario, Canada, and like you, I have goals and aspirations, but at the same time, I see climate change as a critical issue and believe that there's no point in dreaming with a future so uncertain. We need to begin caring for the climate as we would anything valuable or cherished. Let's start by defining global warming, because there's more to it than the name. Two of the Earth's many atmospheric layers are currently at odds. The troposphere is warming, and directly above it, the stratosphere is cooling. This leads to the accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, namely methane and carbon dioxide, among others. This gradually raises the Earth's average temperature, which in turn warms the oceans and causes water to evaporate, hence the powerful and deadly storms and winds we so often see on TV. So now we know how global warming works, but what causes it? The most significant problem is carbon. Reducing our individual emissions seems like a good fix, but isn't nearly enough without the cooperation of large corporations like manufacturers and agricultural companies. Some claim that reducing emissions will bring our economy to its knees, but there's a middle ground between losing our planet and shutting off our economy to save it. Corporations can adopt sustainable production and supply chain practices, while planting trees that trap carbon and reduce its atmospheric presence. After all, they need a functioning planet just as much as we do. We now know what climate change is, as well as who and what are to blame for it, but what can we start doing today to address it? The obvious first step is to take individual action to reduce our carbon footprint, and there are many ways to do so. You and I may be willing to take these steps, but what about others? We need to spread awareness and hold each other accountable. While social media is a great tool for widespread messaging, sometimes an honest conversation between friends and between them and their friends is enough to get others on board. Let's spread the word and perhaps make environmental advocacy a trend of its own. We need to be more proactive in defending against climate change, which is something we can only do in numbers. Those around you may not yet understand the value of being proactive, but we shouldn't be waiting for an uncontrollable ecological catastrophe to make its debut. After all, as Benjamin Franklin once said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and for us, that ounce is a minuscule decrease in temperature to avoid the irreversible deterioration of our beloved environment. By all means, this is a battle worth fighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. At this time, I would ask that Professor Liette Vasseur please ask your question for Alexandra.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the good presentation. First question, you talk about carbon. Is it the only gas that is important in climate change?
It certainly isn't the only gas, as there's numerous gases, like even water vapor is one gas that contributes to it, but because of its ubiquitous presence, it's not like the most major gas in the atmosphere. There's also nitrous oxide and methane that I talked about, and those emissions can be reduced by coupling our efforts with carbon.
That's good, thank you. My other question is, in your text, you also talk about planting trees, which is something that even the federal government is trying to do. How long do you think it takes for a tree to start really absorbing carbon? Have you looked at that?
I have looked at that a little bit. It does take some time for the tree to start absorbing carbon because it needs to reach a certain maturity before doing so, but I still think it's worthwhile to start planting trees now.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, it takes around 23 years in Canada because of our cold climate, but it's true. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vasseur, for your questions. George Vanderkuur, please ask your question.
Okay. Hi, Alexandra. The question I have, in your opinion, is there one factor, what would be the most important factor in that causes climate change that we would have some control over?
So I did discuss this a little bit in my presentation, that our emissions is the most important factor that we also do have some control over. So we can reduce our emissions on many levels, like individually. There's many ways to individually reduce our emissions. I know that some people say that meat is like a huge factor because it's farming produces a lot of emissions, and we don't have to entirely cut meat out of our diet. We can just eat less meat because after all, we do need protein. And on another level, on governmental levels, they can institute the law that requires like corporations to adopt more sustainable practices and supply chain practices. And I guess on the global level, we can sort of convince others to take action as well through social media and other means.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Now you can relax, Alexandra, and enjoy the rest of the presentations. I would like to introduce finalist number 2, Anne Nguyen.
Hello, can you hear me clear?
Yes, you are loud and clear.
Can I start now or?
Yes, you may start whenever you are ready.
So, hello everyone, my name is Nguyễn Ngọc Bảo Anh and I'm currently studying in Nguyễn Anh Secondary School and I'm from Vietnam. Before I start my presentations, I would like to say thank you to all the committees who have made this competition possible, and thank you to those who are listening. So in my essay, I wrote about what caused climate change and how it affected people and what it had done to our environment. But I guess that everyone knows the answer to these questions. So today I just want to focus on the solutions. And I also want to point out people misconceptions about ways to solve climate change. So, but first, I would like to tell a story that I experienced on my own that concerning to climate change. When I was studying in grade 7, I used to watch TVT1 news with my family every dinner. And then one day I saw in the news about the erratic weather that had damaged farmers' crops in many rural areas. And out of curiosity, I started to do lots of research about this problem. And from then on, I knew that the profound reason came from climate change. But at that time, all things that I had already known didn't satisfy me. I still want to witness firsthand how it's affected the citizen there. Fortunately, a few months later, my mom has a business trip to London province, and I went with her. When I arrived, I saw dozens of boys and girls working in the fields under the hot weather. And at that time, they're supposed to go to school and learn, not working like that. And I came forward a boy that were the same age as me and asked the questions like, you're supposed to go to school. What are you doing here? And he replied that his family didn't have enough money for him to go to school because they couldn't make money from the crops as the weather has already ruined all their work. So he had to work more to make some money. And that time I realized that I couldn't let any children in my country suffering from that anymore. And because if everything continues like this, people will be unhealthy and worse, uneducated. So how can they contribute to the world development to a better future? And that's why I end up joining these competitions. So I did come up with some solutions that I think are only possible if everyone contributes. Well, why did I say that? Because many people believe that the governments or the leaders, if you like, should take action. For example, cut off factory because they release toxic emission into the air, or maybe use solar energy or stop taking fossil fuel from the ground. But that can never happen because they have already become one crucial part of the citizen's daily life. Because in the processions of producing furniture, clothes, or electricity, people have to burn fossil fuel and then release toxic emissions, although no one wants that to happen. And moreover, if we cannot just sit here and wait for the governments or the leaders to do something. However, if the government cannot be relied on, it is not the end of the world, as people's receptions of climate change and the spirit to change the current situations is the most important. Because if no one even cares about climate change and thinks that it is the leader's business, then we can never save our home. So here comes the solutions, finally. I've already made sure that they are possible for everyone, regardless of gender or age. So first, we need to plant trees. Trees are the fields of the earth. Hopefully they can reduce the emissions that we release into the air. And second, stop using private transportation. Biking or walking instead of driving is a better solution because when we drive, we're actually release a huge amount of emission into the air. And number 3 is buy durable clothes, not fashionable clothes. Well, because durable clothes is something that you can use for a long period of time, but fashionable clothes, people will probably throw it away as soon as it's off trends. And the last one is advocated for change. Write to your elected representatives, attend climate change marches, and support organizations working on climate actions. And the last thing I want to mention is don't ever misconcept that climate change is an unchanged situation. It can be changed or not, depending mostly on us. the younger generations, but are leaders of the world, of the future world, and always keeps in mind that when everyone helps, everything counts. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Anne. I would now ask, please, Kelly Schultz. You can ask one question of Anne.
Good morning. Thank you, Anne. That was a great presentation. In your essay, you had mentioned corporate collaboration as a way to help solve climate change, and was wondering what are some ways that we can incentivize companies to take action against climate change?
Do you mean that what companies should do to make people work together to prevent climate change?
Yeah, and what are some ways that we can get corporations to start implementing ways to change our climate?
Well, I think that is come from mostly like the influencer like us. Like maybe we should, shows the students and people around the world the beautiful pictures of countries like that they haven't been polluted by climate change yet. And I'm one of the influencers, so I must do something like I can help people to plant trees, and then do something that are benefits for the worst, and then other people will see that, oh, the children are doing something, so why are we sitting here waiting for something? And if you're in a company of the environment saving company, then other people in that company should do something like me, for example, so that everyone will look at them and see that we should act now before it's too late.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And thank you, Kelly Schultz. And now, Professor Ruth Hayhoe, you have a question for Anne.
Yes, Anne, thank you so much for such a dynamic presentation from Vietnam. And I'd just like you to say a little bit about the different actions people can take. From your experience in Vietnam, what do you think is the most effective so far, and perhaps most easy to share more widely from the Vietnam experience?
Probably biking or walking instead of driving, because plant tree is not something that other people can do because it takes lots of time to grow a tree. But all of them can walk because they all have legs, right? And they should do that, like all of them, not just one, because when we're driving, we are actually reducing a huge amount of emission into the air. And that's the easiest way to prevent climate change from getting worse, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think that's a very good piece of advice, as you say, easy to take up. And it's so good to hear your voice from Vietnam. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move on now to finalist number 3, Anthony Wang.
Oh, I'm ready. Yeah.
Anthony, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, judges and students, it is an honor to be here to talk about climate change, one of the biggest crises that our planet is facing today. My name is Anthony Wang, and I'm currently a high school student from the United States, Michigan. And I'm here to address the issue of our climate change education and what can be done to improve our education about climate change. I would like to begin and talk about my own experience about climate change education. I remember in middle schools, there were many lectures and events seeking to explain climate change and its effects. But I noticed there weren't many conversations and interactions between students about climate change afterward. And for the first time, I wonder, is our climate change education sufficiently and effectively addressed? Recently, to address my curiosity, I conducted an anonymous survey about climate change education in my high school. And as a result of the survey, more than 90% of the students believe there's a lack of curriculum in their education about climate change. And more than 50% of the students believe that they have rarely or never use the knowledge they learn about climate change in real life. And in order to understand our current education system better as a whole, teacher must have a say. So I also researched a survey conducted by European Commission in 2020, which attracted over 1,000 responses from mostly teachers across Europe. And in the survey, more than 70% of the teachers believe that their curriculum does not sufficiently address climate change, compared to only 28.7% who thought it did. And based on these two surveys from both students and teachers, I had come to a clear conclusion that our climate change education is not sufficiently addressed. And if our climate change education isn't sufficiently addressed, what can be done to improve our education about climate change? Here, I propose two suggestions that I think are worth practicing. Firstly, climate change education could be made more practical for students to understand climate change. Rather than simply learning the costs and effects on the surface about climate change, students could take a deeper look into effects of climate change and what else has it brought to the local populations. For example, climate change led to droughts, and droughts led to shortage of water, and a shortage of water would eventually affect the development of agriculture in the area. And how can development of agriculture in the area affect the locals? And what solutions can students propose to solve this problem? This provides a more realistic and more practical situation for students to understand climate change. And climate change is also a phenomenon that can be illustrated as a combination of biology, chemistry, and environmental science. Teaching students through these interesting perspectives can help students form a deeper understanding of climate change, while also teaching students valuable scientific concepts. Secondly, I suggest we invest more training for teachers and staff to teach climate change fully and effectively. In the research conducted by European Commission in 2020, more than half of the teachers believe that the deficiencies in their climate change lectures were due to lack of proper training. If we provide enough training for teachers, we could diversify the material being taught, promote different perspectives on teaching climate change, and therefore improving the overall efficiencies of our climate change education. And lastly, I'd like to reiterate, climate change education is becoming critical because we want our next generation to get fully prepared for combating climate change. And therefore, we have to sufficiently address our climate change education. And education is certainly an approach that we need to utilize if we want to protect the world we love. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. For the first question, I would like to invite Professor Howard Lin.
Good morning, Anthony. I like your presentation. I also like your action approach. You did the survey yourself. So my question, I like your two suggestions from the survey. My question is regarding your further action. Now, what did you do with the survey? Did you make your suggestion, for example, known to the teachers or among the students? What did you do with the result, with the findings from your survey?
Well, okay. So I conducted an anonymous survey just between student bodies in my high school, and due to my relationship with the students, I was able to come up with a survey that is pretty inclusive about the realistic situations in my high school. And for the teacher bodies, as I stated previously, I researched a survey conducted by European Commission in 2020. And based on these two surveys, I kind of compare like their opinion on whether climate change education is or is not sufficiently addressed. And based on these results and data, I was able to come up with a claim that our climate change education is not sufficiently addressed.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Quite. I like your action approach. I think you probably need to bring your suggestions, especially to the teachers.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not sure you're in the position. But so, for example, the teacher needs more training themselves, then they better teach the student, right? Yeah,
Right.
I think the suggestion has a value, really value over there.
Thank you. It was a great question.
Thank you.
At this time, I would invite Professor Chiyuan Miao to ask question number 2.
Okay. Yes, Tony. It's very good idea to decide the survey, in my opinion. So my questions is, could you please share with us some details questions involved in your survey? How many questions you decide in your survey?
Well, for my survey conducted to the student bodies, I think there were I asked around 5 questions, and but for the essay that I did for this competition, I only use part of it because some of the question is not really involved with my topics, but for the parts that I use in this competition, I mainly use the data. What I asked them if they think they like how often do they apply the knowledge they learn about climate change in real life, and also I asked, do you think there is enough curriculum about climate change in your education? And these are the two most important questions that I asked in the survey, and I just brought them to the essay that I wrote. Is that your question?
Yes. And another small question is, I'm interested when you ask the student body to join this survey, is anyone refuse or reject to do the survey?
There's an option that it's in a Google Doc. I mean, it's in a Google Sheets. Wait, it's not Google Sheet. I'm sorry. It's basically like a Google tool that it's like a link that students just click on it and they can just do it themselves. So if they don't want to do it, they can just not click on it. So yeah.
Okay, many sense.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was a great question.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Professor Miao. Finalist number 4 is Daniel Wang. Once again, I will remind everyone to please use your best voice so that all our audience members can hear you. Daniel, you may begin when you are ready.
Hello, sir and madam. I'm Daniel, and this is my English name. I'm from China, Chengdu. I always have thick interest in English, and I'm overjoyed to speak here. When climate topics are mentioned, a strong sense of responsibility floods in my heart. Yet, environmental protection is not just somebody's duty. We civilians all together on the earth should take on it. However, what we must clearly confront is that our earth has been in poor condition, and those days I saw a paper which reports that most scientists are always underestimating the data about climate, such as the emissions of carbon dioxide and the rising levels of river. But why did they do that? It said that they are worried to be accused by people for the so-called fake information. If they clearly notify the data in a real way and claim that we live in a terrible environment, people will feel panicked about it. And after a period of time, if they didn't feel the obvious changes, they would reckon that they had been cheated and hit the scientists. It's a thought-provoking thing. But on the contrary, we can't realize the significance of environmental protection since they didn't present the real circumstance. Research has shown that the global water cycle is intensifying in large part because of climate change. At the same time, climate change is making extreme weather and floods. Although global precipitation is increasing overall, there are significant regional variations in precipitation due to the influence of regional circulation. In addition, the low temperature layer which accounts for 75% of the world's fresh water resources, has also been affected. Over the past 20 years, global glaciers have lost more than 0.5 meter of mass equivalent per year, and the number of days and depth of snow cover have been declining. An expert Han said, meltwater increases water resources around the region, which has a beneficial effect on the local agriculture. But this beneficial effect is not sustainable. By the way, yesterday is World Meteorological Day. According to the latest forecast of the National Climate Center, this year, the overall climate deviation, flood season, burial, extreme heavy precipitation are more likely to occur. Disaster prevention and mitigation situation is grim. Since the beginning of this year, the China Meteorological Administration has repeatedly deployed weather services in flood season and river basins, reminding all walks of life and the public to take comprehensive and early response measures based on early and prevention, these two words. Well, people here are gradually taking some measures, such as the sorting of rubbish and less utility of plastic package, which is a positive phenomenon. As for ourselves, we must have contributions, including turning off the lights after leaving, going out by bus or bike more frequently, which will reduce the emissions of harmful gas, not only the warming gas carbon dioxide, but also the nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide. I remember sometimes Chengdu here has the acid rain, for the pH of the rain is lower than 5.6, which is a frightening thing. In addition, I always remember the scorching days in last year's summer, which is a worldwide disastrous encounter. Generally speaking, it's high time we should pay attention to the environmental protection and be dedicated to it. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. I would ask Professor Katharine Hayhoe to ask Daniel the first question.
Hi, Daniel. So in your essay, you say that it's high time to take action. What actions should we take?
Just for our ourselves and as students, we can just do some small things, and just like going. I have mentioned going out by bus or bike more frequently, and the sorting of the rubbish, and maybe for the government, they can release the more strategies and to protect the environment. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Professor Hayhoe. I would now ask Principal George Vanderkuur to ask the second question.
Hello, Daniel. So here's maybe a tough question. You know, in the past, natural events have made huge changes to the climate. So I'd like you to comment on what the Industrial Revolution has done to make this such an issue now.
You mean the revolution?
Well, the Industrial Revolution has done something to climate change that I don't want to give you the answer, but in the past there've been huge changes in the climate due to natural events, but something has happened due to the Industrial Revolution, and I'd like you to comment on that.
As the development of the industry and manufacturers have released harmful gas, and it's the main pollutant to the environment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Principal Vanderkuur. We have now reached the conclusion of the Group 1 finalists. Please to send your final scores via private chat in Zoom to Anne. While our judges are submitting their scores for the first group, I would like to bring attention to the Special Mention Award. This year's Special Mention Award goes to Alex Tan. Alex is the youngest competitor for this year's competition. He is 11 years old. Alex, I would like you to please share your experience with being a first-time participant in the Global Youth Challenge at 11 years old. Alex, your turn.
So my name's Alex, and I'm from the Springfield Public School, Mississauga, Ontario, in Canada. Thank you, Deborah, for bringing me here. Thank you, the organizer of the Global Youth Challenge. Dear judges, it's my honor to be here as the youngest participant in the Global Youth Challenge 2023. I first heard about the GYC competition through the Arundel Academy. I was aware that I was not eligible due to my age, since I was only 11 years old, but I still want to give it a try by signing up and joining all the training classes. It was a very interesting experience for me, since I learned a lot of things, like how to write an essay properly in the training session. And I would say I will join it the next year and the year after. Dear the finalists, I wish you all success in the competition. Bye.
Thank you, Alex. Alex, I know that you are on your way to school now, so we won't keep you any longer. I would now like to introduce and invite Paul Pu as Executive Director of GYC to say a few words about the competition and about the participants. Let me just say that our first 4 competitors have done an excellent job in bringing their ideas together and developing some solutions for the global issue. Okay, so what we will do now, we will carry on to the Group 2 finalists. Okay, so we will begin the Group 2 finalists. Finalist number 5 is Faiza Nanjiba. Finalist 6, Fatime Bakhtiari. Finalist 7, Han Vo. My apologies. Han Vo. Finalist 8, Isabel Snare. So let's begin with Faiza Nanjiba. Faiza, as finalist number 5, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Okay, good morning. Greetings to all. Thank you for having me here and giving me this opportunity to share my voice. Climate change is a phenomenon that's been occurring throughout centuries. Each year, Earth warms more and more by less than 1 degree Celsius. It may not be much, but that is a lot to the globe. Sea levels begin rising due to sea caps melting, natural disasters raise the landscape, and humanity is reaching its capacity. Climate change is often given many misconceptions and assumed it's incredibly easy to fix. But without taking the proper action right now, we may never get anywhere. Climate change is also a recurring factor to global warming, wherein the Earth temperatures rise and warm over average, causing not only wildfires, but as well as droughts, which can heavily hinder agriculture and animals as habitats. Global warming drives the vegetation and plant life, which can risk wildfires. I read that Alberta often has forest fires due to the dryness. Alongside wildfires and droughts, sea levels rising result in floods, causing coastal countries to threaten sinking below the water. Floods can severely destroy industries in urban areas, especially areas that are convoluted with housing, businesses, and residents. Floods and droughts aren't the only disasters that can occur. Acid rain is a very prominent one. It can damage plant life and tissue, as well as lowering the pH of our water supply and generating toxins that consider the water inedible, like sulfur dioxide, lowering the pH and making it acidic, which can damage our internal or workings. If we continue this loop of consistently generating carbon dioxide and other polluting gases, it can risk an extinction event where humanity is unable to reside on Earth anymore. There are multiple solutions to combat climate change, especially ones that can prevent the aforementioned disasters and assist with helping the Earth cool. Emission reduction is our main goal. We can use solar panels as an alternative to other energy sources that generate carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, even water vapor. Alongside solar panels, we can also ride bikes, and other means of transportation that doesn't generate as much of these greenhouse gases. With transportation and energy sources listed, we can recycle instead of trashing the plastic, generating landfills that can harm animals' digestive systems. A good example of this are albatross chicks consuming plastic and perishing, and releasing decomposition gases like carbon dioxide into the air. Burning the waste, carbon dioxide and methane. Burning the waste does the same. We should also use reusable materials like some plastic, like peat, compost, and other sources of fertilization, instead of toxic man-made fertilizers that release runoff into our water. Thus, we should use these alternatives and techniques to reduce worsening the climate change in the long run. Thank you once again for having me here. Thank you for letting me share my voice. My name is Faiza Nanjiba. I am a 10th grader in Alberta, Calgary, Alberta.
Thank you, Faiza. I will now ask Kelly Schultz to ask your first question.
Good morning, Faiza. Thank you very much for your presentation. You're a beautiful artist as well. I very much appreciated your artwork that you provided earlier. What are some initiatives that we can put in place to get others to be involved in climate change? You had mentioned some incentives that we can do, but how do we rally everybody together to really make a difference?
So lately, I've been studying psychology, and this is an effect that affects humanity called the bystander effect. Basically, we struggle to take action even despite someone being in danger or other events. Sorry, hold on. Anyway, the bystander effect can prevent humans and other people from taking actions despite another human being in danger. So I suppose we could advertise the effects of climate change despite it already being there. There are many environmentalists already working to take action, as well as like charities can help as well. We can have people donate money to assist with that. And you have heard of Mr. Beast's campaign of planting trees and cleaning the sea, right? Yeah, that is one action. We could have famous, well-known people like Mr. Beast to advocate for these changes.
Great, thank you.
And for the second question, I would like to ask Professor Ruth Hayhoe.
Good morning, Faiza. Your painting was dramatic. the contrast was so striking, and it made me think that art can also be part of the way of communicating the urgency. I want you to talk a little bit about solar panels, because that comes out so strongly on the right side of your painting. And how far do you think that use is a really good solution? And is it applicable differently in different parts of the world? Just talk a little bit about solar panels.
Solar panels can store energy in the day, and throughout night is when we use the most energy to light our homes, and especially use appliances like cooking, toasters, microwaves, and such. We can spend time in the day without using any energy, like very little, like a little amount to like not use as much energy. Solar panels can keep energy sorry, just thinking. Yeah, since especially bright countries like ones that have very little clouds in the air and such, they can store the most amount of solar energy and use it at night. We should also turn off appliances that we're not using to further store these and prevent it from draining throughout the day.
Thank you. And I think the big issue is the storage of the new energy coming from solar power, right? But it's good that you are highlighting that particular approach to the problems of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hayhoe, and thank you, Faiza. I'd like to now introduce finalist number 6, Fatime Bakhtiari. Fatime, you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Fatime, and I am a 14-year-old student in Ottawa, Canada. Before I start, I would like to give a big thank you to everyone who has made this contest possible and to everybody who has helped me throughout this process. I joined this year's Global Youth Challenge to express my opinion through something I enjoy, which is art. What is climate change? Climate change is a drastic change in the weather condition. Imagine the Earth in a few years with these disasters happening. What do you see? Well, the most common answer is that the Earth would be demolished by then. Well, what if I told you we could stop that? But first, we need to find out what the causes and the effects are. If I were to describe one of the causes of climate change in one word, it would be factories. Although manufacturing industries are one of the biggest causes of climate change, there's also simple things that we do in our daily life that have a big impact. For example, cars and buses. Well, the real question is, how does it affect climate change? Well, the pollution that the factories make goes out of the earth and onto the atmosphere, trapping the heat onto Earth and the heat coming from the sun. This is called the greenhouse effect. There are 4 major effects that we can see, one being the forest fires. Number 2 is melting of snow and ice. Number 3, because of the snow and ice melting, the water levels have risen. Number 4 is a very obvious one, the change of the daily weather that we see. How can we stop climate change? Well, we can't really stop climate change for good, but we can stop it from increasing into something worse or keeping it at this rate or slowing it down. I personally believe that if we all try to make a difference, that could happen. In my drawing, I represented an Earth that is split in half. The bottom part representing what Earth used to be, and the top part representing what Earth is now with climate change. As you can see on the right side of Earth, there is 2 people holding a glass of water that is empty, and there's a tree on fire. But on the left side, you can see that the people are drowning and there's tall buildings behind them, which indicates that the water is really high and it is spilling out of Earth, which means it is too much. On the bottom, you can see factories here. You can see factories letting out the pollution and the pollution going around the atmosphere of Earth and staying there. On both sides of the page, you can see examples of the climate change effects. This side, you can see a forest on fire, and on this side, a polar bear is dying on a small piece of ice because of climate change. Climate change is a very serious topic. The effect it has on everything is very dangerous, and over time, it can turn into something worse. We need to take action before it is late. We should feel responsible since the things we do are affecting climate change. If we put our minds together, we can pause climate change and make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatima. I would now invite Professor Liette Vasseur to ask the first question.
Thank you very much. And I really liked your diagram and your pictures. It was really striking in terms of what is coming up, and I really liked it. So my question will be, how do you envision to get people to engage, to change their behavior, to gradually hold their hands together, like you put, because that is a very powerful message in some way. What needs to be changed? How do you ask people to hold hands now?
Well, since social media is nowadays very popular, we can represent it through social media, through famous people, and try and get people aware of this situation and give examples of how we can solve this problem. For example, by changing our cars into electric or hybrid cars. And sorry, could you repeat your question, please?
Well, how do you change that? How do you make sure that people can hold their hands together to change?
Yeah,
I think you already got a few good answers, I should say.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you're in the right way. Thank you.
For the second question, Professor Howard Lin.
Hi, Fatemi. I really like your drawing. I like your enthusiasm. I realized that this is the second time you participate in this competition. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the drawing is very creative. But let me just comment on the picture here. It's like the danger is everywhere, right? Where, yeah, the people holding hand, but we're in the center. It's like we try to break through, do something, help the air, the water, the polar bear. So what if you mentioned the one thing is most dangerous? How do we deal with those with that problem? You have this all corners, right? All this problem, right? Which one is most dangerous?
Well, the most dangerous, as I mentioned in my speech, is the factories. And how they can solve this problem is by using natural fuel gas, which, if you don't know what it is an odorless mixture of hydrogen and proximately made up of methane that is way better than the gas and coals and fossil fuels that they use in companies nowadays and factories.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now move on to finalist number 7, Han Vo. Han, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you.
All right. All right.
Good morning. Make sure you use a big voice, though.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Good morning or good afternoon. Before I begin, my name is Vang Bao Hung, and I'm from Vietnam. So before I begin, I just want to thank everyone, judges and GYC, who took their time to let us have a voice about climate change. And I'm pretty sure that currently many people are informed about climate change and how it can alter our natural landscape and living conditions, like sea levels, droughts, greenhouse gases, and all the cause and effects you can think of. And although it is important to keep the environment safe, we tend to forget that climate change also affects our mental health. Unpredictable changes in the environment can cause extreme stress, depression, trauma to those who have lost homes, to loved ones, and those who experience some kind of crisis due to it. From examining many different stories, I compiled them into a piece of artwork, which is this artwork. If you guys can see it, I think my screen is broken. So yeah, as you can see that in the artwork, if you look into it, there is a man. It is a surrealism artwork. And this artwork is called Land Home. And in this piece is about a man who tries to find a home. But that home doesn't exist because what he sees is all ruins and drowned. But that is all he sees. If you look at different angles, like flipping upside down or like landscape portrait or whatever, you can probably see trees, plant life, and plantation throughout. But at the same time, the environment looks extremely polluted and deserted. Really depends on how you see it. Similarly, climate change can make people lose their purpose in life, making people think of multiple negative things leading to all sorts of mental problems. Though it alerts a person to bring more significance about a problem and be more active about it. With that in mind, we have ways to alter that negative thinking to a positive one through social support and connection on the internet or even real life by creating communities where people can help each other to talk and act upon these problems. Because I believe there's always a bright side to everything. This is just not magic. It just needs effort of each individual to communicate with each other so that people will be able to relieve the world's stress, both mentally and physically, even if it's just a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Han. Professor Katharine Hayhoe, would you please ask the first question?
Yes. So I was wondering, in your artwork, are you looking at where we are now versus where we want to go in your artwork? And what would it take to get us to where we want to go?
For me, I think that for my approach, the meaning of my artwork, I was saying to give the idea of, firstly, our current is if you look, is where there's the buildings. Like buildings and like water is all drowned and polluted. That's currently what we see as this is the biggest crisis we can have. Like, you know, the world's on fire kind of thing. And it really depends on what they want to think, because as like this man is a metaphor of him finding his way. And like I said, as you look at different perspectives and angles, it really changes how the future, like if you wanted to try to look at the picture at a different way or give it a positive light, I think that if everyone has the spirit for change, then I would say that it is possible to at least relieve climate change to some way.
Thank you.
And for the second question, Professor Chiyuan Miao.
Yes. Hey. For your artwork, my first question is, how long did it take you to complete the artwork?
For my artwork, I spent firstly, I spent around 3 days brainstorming and searching for inspiration. And then I spent like one day of doing a practice work. And then I spent around like, I don't know, like 5 hours on this piece. So around there, like 3 to 5 hours around there on this piece.
Okay. My second question is, you just mentioned about the mental health.
Yes.
I'm interested that how do you think the climate change can impact our mental health?
simply put, because like I said in examples, for the like big end of the world kind of like climate change problems, we can see droughts and floods and such. People like farmers and like farmers or like people who do cattles and like normal traditional kind of like business kind of flows, it's really difficult on them because if the weather change even just a few degrees or something, there's a lot of change for their plantation and affects a lot on like plants growth and could affect a lot of business like financial crisis for their families. On a different side, like in cities, we can see like pollution, like people begin to like isolate themselves in rooms more because they're inside the room more because of course heat waves and pollution. I mean, no one wants to go out in a polluted place, right? So people would begin to isolate them in rooms more, which it may not seem much, but it will deteriorate the mental health slowly. We never notice, but it'll hit like a truck, but we'll never know.
Okay, many thanks.
Thank you both. Let's move on to finalist number 8. Finalist number 8 is Isabel Snare. Isabel, you may begin when you are ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
Okay. Have you ever been talking to someone, perhaps a friend, a family member, or even a stranger, and realized that consciously or otherwise, their actions are not a reflection of their words? Hello, everyone. My name is Isabel Snare, and I am a 9th grade student at Hydrological College in Toronto, Canada. I would like to thank the judges and everyone at GYC for this incredible opportunity, as well as the audience members and my fellow finalists presenting here today for listening. In the context of climate change, I found that in both my personal life and in a global setting, it is all too habitual for people to say that they care about the future of the Earth. Habitual, as in it's an easy claim to make, an easy band-aid to slap on in replace of real action. Although most people truly do care about climate change and the threat it poses, now and in the future, it is rare for anyone to truly prioritize the environment over other factors that concern our society, such as the economy, politics, and other important issues such as poverty, food insecurity, human rights violations, war, accessible healthcare, and many others. As I mentioned in my essay, the reason why climate change is often put on the back burner of society's attention is because of the nature of human beings. Anthropocentrism, the idea that humans are separate and thus superior in some way than everything that surrounds us, is one thinking concept that has been unknowingly adopted by most people today. This causes a deep-rooted belief to be instilled in many, that the environment is simply a factor that affects us, the humans, rather than the other way around. Another concept that limits our motivation towards prioritizing the environment is having a short-term versus long-term mindset. Sometimes climate change and the effects of it on our world appear as a problem far off in the future, as opposed to the imminent threat it is in actuality. Opposingly, national economic opportunities and challenges, as well as other countless international issues the world is currently facing, are often viewed by governments, experts, and the general public as more immediately problematic and are prioritized as a result. So what am I trying to say? The dilemma with climate change is that us humans are responsible for causing and consequently mitigating or theoretically solving climate change. But how are we meant to do this when our society is unable to prioritize the environment? My proposal is to draw more scientific attention to finding solutions to different aspects of climate change. Thus far, humanity has only dipped a toe into what is possible. Scientific developments such as transitioning from non-renewable to renewable energy resources and increased production of electric vehicles are steps in the right direction. However, with increased scientific attention to finding boxless ideas to protect the environment, I think that many more opportunities to mitigate the effects of climate change in a real way will be discovered. As well, since science is something that cannot be reasonably protested or discounted, and we live in a world where almost nothing is considered to be distinctly right or wrong, it may provide a concrete fix that everyone can get behind. Therefore, as a result of the thinking habits that control human societies, I believe that science is a much better solution to climate change than social approaches are. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. I would ask Kelly Schultz to ask the first question today.
Thank you, Isabel. Great job on your essay and your presentation. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned in your essay and in your presentation that there's two ways to solve potentially climate change, and that is through social and through science. Is there a way that we can combine them to combat climate change?
Well, I think that there will always be a social barrier almost, even if the solution is scientific. For example, say there's a new discovery or development that could be a potential solution to climate change or a mitigation strategy. There will always be people who fight against that in the media, or maybe think that it isn't a good idea to implement it worldwide. So there always will be a social aspect of a potential solution to climate change. I just personally believe that it is better to try and reduce that aspect as much as possible.
Thank you.
And for the second question, Principal George Vanderkuur.
Hello, Isabel. And I saw this wonderful word in your essay, and I'm wondering if I'm going to pronounce it well, but it's anthropocentrism. As a scientist, I'm familiar with the anthropic principle, but this is a new word for me. Could you explain to us, to the audience here, what anthropocentrism means, and perhaps why it's a barrier to good action?
So basically, anthropocentrism is where people believe that they are superior to the natural world and separate. So it's kind of like, I remember when I was in elementary school, many people would say that, like, oh, humans aren't animals, they're like a separate thing. And I feel like, although this is a little extreme, many people tend to separate humans and believe that we are better and more intelligent and more important to be prioritized in terms of climate change. And that's kind of the idea of this concept.
Thank you. Great answer.
Thank you both. This concludes the Group 2 finalists. I would ask now that the judges forward their scores for the last 4 contestants. We know that we're all involved in the conversation about climate change. At this time, I would like to pause and ask Professor Ruth Hayhoe for her thoughts so far, reflections, some ideas about what our young people have said so far.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's just a joy to hear these young voices from around the world. And I know many of us are in a situation where we feel there's not a lot I can do. I'm not an expert. I'm not having a government position where I can change policy. But I think the most hopeful piece is we can all talk about it. And what I'm seeing here is so many young people who are not only able to talk about it, but are able to talk about it very eloquently and with wonderful examples, with paintings that make it very dramatic and that could very well be quite persuasive for people to take action, with stories, with considerable scientific understanding of what is actually lying behind the changes and the ways they are affecting our Earth and the ways in which we need to love and respond to our Earth. So let me just say it's a great joy to be with all of you. It's also a joy to share this occasion with my niece, Katharine, who is so often in a position to be talking about, from a scientist perspective, issues of climate change and encouraging people I have been influenced a lot by her. So thank you for letting me have a chance just to say a few words.
You're very welcome. And once again, we do appreciate all of our judges and the time that they have dedicated, especially those who are here for the second or perhaps third time. Your input and your knowledge and expertise is so valuable when it comes to providing feedback and also assessments for our 16 finalists. At this point, we will move forward to group three. Group three finalists consist of Jerry Yu is finalist 9, finalist 10, Jimin So, finalist 11, Patti Patel, and finalist 12, Rui Shang. So we will begin with finalist 9, Jerry. You may begin whenever you are ready, Jerry.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jerry Yu. I am currently 18 years old. I am in grade 12. I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada. And today my topic is about how space could affect and not affect humans' climate change. So in 2022, it was recorded that about 180 shuttles have been to space or have sent to space and have been on adventures. And there's studies shown that the sun emits a wide range of electromagnetic radiation, include visible light, ultraviolet radiation, and infrared radiation. When this radiation reaches the Earth's atmosphere, at some of its atmosphere is scattered by the atmosphere, while some of it reaches the Earth's surface. When the Earth's radiation reaches a metallic surface, some of it is reflected off of the surface due to the reflective properties of the metal. And there's a study shown that about more than 300 million tons of metal fragments that are just circling around the Earth, and it's just there untouched. The reflected radiation can then be absorbed by the Earth's surface or atmosphere, contributing to the warming of the planet. The absorbed radiation is mainly in the form of IR radiation, which is a type of heat energy. This absorbed radiation causes the temperature of the Earth's surface and atmosphere to increase, which can lead to the range of impacts, including melting glaciers, rising sea levels, and more than frequent and severe weather events. The process of the reflection and absorption of solar radiation is a natural phenomenon and is a key driver of the Earth's climate. But however, human activities such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation are increasing the levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which traps more than heat and contribute to global warming. But in conclusion, in summary, the sun's radiation is reflected off metallic surfaces and absorbed by Earth's surface and contributing to the warming of the planet. But there are reasons why limiting the number of spaceships launched into space, and one of them is a potential impact of global warming. First is launching spaceships into space requires a large amount of fuel, and combustions of rocket fuels release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributing global warming. And secondly, the construction and maintenance of space infrastructure, such as satellites and space stations, are also required a significant amount of energy and resources, which can lead to further greenhouse gases emissions and environmental impacts. Limiting the number of spaceships launched into space can help reduce the overall carbon footprint in the space industry and help mitigate its impact on global warming. This can be achieved by developing more fuel efficient rockets using renewable energy sources or launched and space infrastructure and reducing unnecessary launches. However, it is important to note that the impact of space launches on global warming is currently relatively small compared to other human activities, such as burning fossil fuels. Therefore, while limiting spaceships into space can reduce greenhouse gases emissions, it should be part of a broader effort in the address climate change, which includes reducing emissions all sectors of the economy. But I am a man that I am a student that I am really interested in space, and during a speech by John F. Kennedy in May 25, 1961, he announced his goal of sending a man into moon to moon, returning him safely to Earth before the end of the decade. This speech is known as the moonshot, and this speech is primarily towards humans going to space, having a peaceful interaction, going to have an adventure of peace, and hoping that there's no conflict between other nations, and that nothing can stop them, and we could reunite as all nations and explore the space together instead of having different impacts. And I think that we should not stop the space exploration, and we should still continue it. But I feel like there's a way where when we send shuttles into space, that our fossil fuels that are burning could be more developed. And yeah, that is my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I would ask Professor
you.
Liette Vasseur to ask the first question, please.
Thank you very much for your speech. It was interesting because we often don't realize the importance of spaceships and all the rockets that we're sending around the Earth. We know that there's a lot of waste now in the space because of that. So that's important. It's interesting at the same time. My question has 2 points. We love social media, so we need more satellite for that. And at the same time, people now are not only interested in space exploration, but also in space tourism. Especially we know about Elon Musk and all that. So how would you convince Elon Musk, for example, to slow down a little bit on the tourism industry and all these kind of things?
I feel that Elon Musk, he's a man with a lot of talent, and he has a lot of variety of ideas. He has the ability of turning into a fossil fuel car into electric car, and I think that it's a way of how humans change and how humans evolve over time. And I feel like that that Elon Musk sending spaceships into space is a positive sign, but also, yes, there is negatives into it. But I think that in the future, he is planning to maybe kind of reduce that a little bit and kind of think of another way and another plan that there's like a better way of building spaceships and building shuttles into space and having humans traveling there without any problems. And I feel like that, if there's electric car and there's electric planes, I think there is an ability there that to build an electric spaceship, right? It's never impossible, but it's hard to get there. That's what I would say. Yeah.
And for the second question, Professor Howard Lin. We don't have sound from Howard.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay, sorry.
That's good.
Let me say it again. Hi, Jerry. Yeah, I'm really impressed by your knowledge. So we're talking about science here. You realize in the previous presentation, it says, I heard science is a solution. But here we talk also the science, also the cost of the environmental problem. So which one is correct statement?
I think that in order to gain something, you also have to lose something. But there's always like there's never a negative thing. I feel like that everything is always a positive thing. And we're always testing things, and I understand that scientists, they're trying their best, and maybe if there are negative things that happens, and generally speaking, that humans do make mistakes in some sort of way in life. But I think that it's more of a positive side, that I think scientists are doing something that they can to prevent such things that could happen. And humans are evolving slowly, but not as efficient. But it's it's just time consuming. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. At this time, we will move along to finalist number 10, Jimin So. Jimin, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right. Good day to everyone. I am Jimin So, and I'm a grade 10 student who currently studies in Oakville, Canada. I joined this competition to represent South Korea, and I would like to thank the judges again for giving me another chance to speak about my lens about the currently most issued topics, which is climate change. While I have talked about how different perspectives have all affected climate change, today I wanted to talk about something different, a bit modern, actually. I wanted to talk about the two most recent issues, which are COVID-19 and climate change, and how these two correlate and affect each other, and also affect other countries. Lastly, I would like to forecast about how humanity will respond to these problems using money. COVID-19 has been going on for about 3 years, and the pandemic and climate change have both affected one another. The pandemic changed the environment around the world, and the climate change altered our health and exposure to viruses. And even before COVID-19, we have faced huge consequences. Harvard University has stated that people who live in places with poor air quality are more likely to die from COVID-19, no matter how good or bad the healthcare was. And they also said that the more exposure to air pollution, the increased hospitalization of viruses. With environments filled with dust and air pollutants like carbon dioxide or nitrogen dioxide, it can trigger respiratory diseases, illnesses like asthma. But that doesn't mean that the people have done nothing but harm. Ever since lockdown started, people had really no choice but to stop advancing and destroying the environment like before. It was documented that there was a 20% decrease in air pollution in Canada and a 30% decrease in the nitrogen dioxide in the US. However, like previously mentioned, the ultimate threshold of everything in climate change is money. I would like to recall a specific part of my drawing, which is like this part, the last part. And I put money in like the middle to show that humans are blinded by greediness, and we refuse to acknowledge that we are slowly destroying ourselves too. It's not that we don't have enough money. We have more than enough, actually, for everyone to benefit from. But whether we change positively or negatively all depends on money. And we are on the crossroads of whether we're going to destroy or save the Earth. There is a term called the bystander effect in psychology. It is when a crowd of people don't do anything in a situation or a problem like this, and think someone will take action and take responsibility for the consequences. We are all currently bystanders of climate change. We know that the situation is worsening, but we don't really do anything about it. We still let the trees cut down, and we let the air and water pollution get even more worse by the minute. And we also just let animals go extinct because of various climate change related problems. I want to use this moment to inform about the harms and consequences of climate change. Sadly, based on our past choices that we have made, it is most likely that we're going to repeat these choices even after the pandemic. NASA has reported that within the next few decades, the global temperature will go up about 1.5 degrees, and there will be extreme droughts, natural disasters, and reduced area of arable land, which leads to starvation. We would have to use the power of money to make things better. Again, we're at the crossroads of choosing our fate. Chances of making things better is all dependent on people's determination. While there are environmentalists and leaders that speak up for this issue, there are also bad companies and leaders that dismiss their claims. So following one of these sides really depends on us. All in all, although many people have given warnings, human greed is just inevitable. Unless we change now, we're going to keep making bad decisions, and that will only benefit us shortly. And we're going to face terrible consequences if we take the expected role of future climate-related problems. So I want to ask this easy question once more again. Are we going to choose money to help build more anthropogenic activities, or are we going to use money to help nature restore itself? Again, I was Jimin-so, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimin. For the first question, I would ask Professor Katharine Hayhoe.
Thank you. I was very interested by the way that you brought up COVID and climate change because they are related in terms of the impacts. I have a question about the solutions. What do you think we have learned from COVID that could help us to tackle climate change?
We have learned that climate change did affect COVID-19 a lot because countries that have a lot of air pollution, like I mentioned, the air pollutants have affected people's health in general, and so the person's availability to resist the virus kind of decreased. So we kind of learned the hard way that we really have to work on solving climate change, so we won't when there's another pandemic that when there's another situation like this, we have to make sure that air pollution or just pollution in general, we have to solve it or make it reduce the pollution. So yeah.
Yes, so that helps, that will help us cope with pandemics in the future. But so that goes from climate change to pandemics, but what about from COVID to climate change? Did we learn anything that could help us fix climate change from COVID?
During the pandemic, we also learned that we can, when people actually don't work on companies, and then when we don't actually be included in anthropogenic activities, climate change can actually go better. We have statistics have shown that we have reduced a lot of carbon dioxide in the past few years. Mm-hmm. So through the pandemic, we learned that when we actually stop and when we actually try to solve the problems, it actually works, that we still have hope left. So
excellent, thank you.
Great. And for the second question, Professor Ruth Hayhoe.
Thank you so much, Jimin. I thought your cartoons were delightful, very, very creative. And I think your focus on money is really important. And how do we bring about a shift? I heard the head of the Ford Foundation on PBS a couple of nights ago talking about giving has to be shifted to social justice. So what kind of actions can we take so that more resources are turned towards dealing with climate change?
There are actually a lot of ways that we can do campaigns or social medias. We can just Like, can you like explain a bit further, like explain your question a bit further?
I guess I just want to know what level of actors can make a difference in terms of the resources needed to be oriented towards climate change issues.
I guess like what I just said, like I guess social medias, and then maybe like donations to like the WHO or just like the World Health Organization. Yeah. I think like advertising that we actually really have to help, and then we have to like there's still like hope left and like changing climate change. I guess like that's going to make a lot of people follow and then like lean towards like helping climate change. Yeah, I guess that's
Thank you. I think your efforts are already in that right direction with your wonderful cartoons and communication. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will move to finalist 11, Hari Patel. Hari, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you clearly and we can see you clearly.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Let's assume that you're sitting in a waiting area of a particular office or a hospital, for instance. You've been sitting there for about 10 to 15 minutes with nothing else to do. And you know that you're supposed to wait for about 10 to 15 minutes more. There are a few others with you in the waiting area. So now, how do you break the ice? Generally, at this point, the conversations like, how's the weather today? Isn't the weather nice today? Come in really handy to break the ice. We often use weather and climate in our daily conversations, but do we really care about them? Well, now it's high time that we do. In this recent times, we are also caught up in making our lives easy and luxurious, in completing our goals and targets that you are actually forgetting how to do it the right way. Climate change. It's high time that we change. Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. The shifts may be natural, such as through variations in the solar cycle. But since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuel, coal, oil, gases, and also due to the increased concentration of greenhouse gases. According to an estimate, the Earth's global temperature has increased by about 0.3 to now 1.1 degrees Celsius since the beginning of this century. By the middle of the next century, the Earth's global temperature may be 1.5 to 3 degrees Celsius higher than that of today. This is what we call as global warming. The warming of the planet impacts local and regional climate and also causes the weather patterns to change. So, here are a few steps that we could all take to fight climate change, such as talking to our friends, family, and neighbors about the issues that really concern us. We can spread awareness in schools and also launch climate action volunteer programs within the school. We must urge the politicians and the governments to shift subsidies from fossil fuel-based energy to renewable energy and also promote energy efficiency. We must cooperate with the global organizations and the governments by putting their guidelines into implementation. Youth all over the world must unite to not just talk or write about climate change, but to really work to fight against it, even if it means by growing one plant at a time or shifting to a better alternative instead of a fossil fuel-based resource. We must follow the idea of reduce, reuse, recycle, and implement and follow the sustainable development idea. We must work for the restoration of our environment. The list for this is non-exhaustive, so every effort we make counts. Everyone tends to think that climate change is something that is happening in the polar regions, the Arctic and the Antarctic, and not as something that is affecting us personally. That is our biggest mistake. Today, we are all in the midst of a climate crisis, and if we don't do something about it, we will face consequences which are way beyond our control. Nations all over the world are struggling to find better alternatives to reduce their carbon emissions while also maintaining their economy. There are various deals, agreements, summits, roundtable discussions, protests happening for climate action all over the world, so much that the people are now getting climate change fatigue. But on the other hand, the droughts are still happening, just with more intense effects. Coastal regions all over the globe are still getting submerged. Cyclones and tornadoes just keep getting more catastrophic. Plants and wildlife species are becoming extinct. Adverse effects have been seen on the mental, physical, and social well-being of humans. Even though everyone say that they're trying their best, the climate is still changing. So now, instead of climate, what is supposed to change is our mindset and our perspective. Together, we need a collective will and commitment to just get into action to fight climate change and get things done. Because as of now, there is no planet B. We need to understand that we have not inherited this earth from our ancestors, but we have just borrowed it from our children. We need to realize that the future of our beautiful blue planet, our home, our futures depend on nobody else but us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pari. For the first question, I call upon Principal George Vanderkuur.
Hello, Perry. Now, we have been looking at preventing climate change, and it looks like you've done a lot of research, but I think we will also have to cope with climate change. Did you find anything in your research that would suggest ways of coping with climate change?
Yes, we all know that we, at one point or the time, in any way, in various aspects of our life, we have to just adjust to our surroundings. One effect we can see that we wear masks to prevent ourselves from the diseases. We also need to prevent ourselves from the pollution that is going on. We need to shift, we need to take actions that help us coping from the effects of climate change, which could include we can think about something as a helping group or a group where we could discuss our problems, in community together we can get over this change and also reduce the anxiety caused by it. Does that answer your question, or do I need to elaborate more?
No, that's a pretty good answer. Yes, yes. There are mechanical things that people want to do too, is building dikes and things, and shelters and things like that. But that's very good. Thank you.
Yes, we can. In my home country, there's this thing that they shelter their houses with a layer of mud, a specific layer of mud, which is a mixture of various organic things. So that's called a lippy. And if we do that in tough climatic conditions, such as extreme heat conditions, the house remains colder.
Thank you, Perry.
Yes, thank you so much.
And for your second question, Professor Chiyuan Miao.
Yes, okay, Perry, it's very good talk. And in your presentation, you just suggest everyone need to take action to fight the climate change. And can you share something with us about your actions, such as what changes or what actions you have taken to fight climate change?
Yes, thank you for the question. First of all, I have made this resolution. I would say like 2 years back, I've decided that I would be going to school on my foot. I would not take any bus ride or any vehicle to my school, and I'll just walk to my school. We have also adopted the reduce reuse principle as much as possible, and we also have a solar panel in our house. And in our house, we try to decompose everything, our waste material, and use it as a manure for our home gardens. And there's one thing that we all did. In my society and community we are living, I gathered all my friends, and during one of the summer vacations, we planted trees, saplings around the entire community, and we made people promise or write that they will take care of these plants till they grow to maturity at least.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I would now like to introduce finalist number 12, Rui Sheng. Rui, you may begin when you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Rui Shen. Sorry. And I'm an 8th grader. Today I'll be talking about the challenge of finding new energy sources. The use of fossil fuel is a major factor that causes climate change. If we want to get rid of climate change, the first thing we should do is to stop or at least decrease the usage of fossil fuel and find a replacement, such as electricity that's made from renewable resources. Offshore renewable technology are combinations of solar panel on water, wind turbines on water, and ocean energy generators. All these kinds of technology can be used on the massive area of the ocean, which is around 71% of Earth's surface. But ocean energy generator is the most consistent one. It transforms wave energy into electricity that could be used. The ocean energy generator is very stable because ocean waves are moving every day, which means the ocean could generate energy 24 hours a day. The laws of conservation of energy states that energy can't be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred into other form of energy, which would be electricity in this case. The ocean energy generator can transfer non-stop energy into electricity that we can use. So it's a way for us to get consistent infinite energy. Currently, we're on track to develop the ocean energy generator. Ocean energy could reach up to 10 gigawatt of installed capacity by 2030, according to IRENA's projection. IRENA, or International Renewable Energy Agency, which is an organization that helps multiple countries to use sustainable sources of renewable energy. The energy produced by ocean wave generator is able to cover the annual electrical need for nearly 40 million people, which is a lot. Ocean wave energy is an absolute clean energy source. It will not emit any greenhouse gases like fossil fuels do. The problem is that we don't have enough money and resources to unlock the full potential of the ocean energy. So we need more government funding for the development of ocean energy. Even though climate change has a negative impact on us, it encourages us to find more cost-effective and clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Rui. For your first question, I would call upon Kelly Schultz.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. My question for you is I appreciate your idea about the ocean wave energy. And how do we pursue this initiative while also balancing ocean life?
So ocean wave energy doesn't really affect ocean life because in the like in the ocean, most fishes they live underwater, and the ocean wave generator doesn't need to take up all the space in the ocean. So I think it's still working for all the marine life.
Great, thank you.
And for your second question, Professor Howard Lin.
Hi. Yeah, interesting. I need this education myself, but you mentioned this energy source is most consistent. But I just wonder if all the countries, nations have access to this source. What about those inland countries? I just wonder, the question for me is that why is this is so advantageous, but it's not so much attention paid to the ocean energy? It's just the government side, or yeah.
Could you kind of rephrase it?
Yeah, I just said sounds like this energy source is most consistent. But why is there's not much attention to it? People talk about the solar or wind, nuclear, but not this. It's just because the funding were not widely available to all the nations. We know not all the country has access to ocean, right? What's the reason it's not much attention to it?
So first of all, the tension is because now it's just people just invented it, or like it's still developing. So it's not as useful as solar and wind energy, but as we develop it, it will be more efficient and more productive. Second of all, you mentioned that only the coastal country have the access to the ocean wave energy, but it's actually not very true, because since the country next to the ocean can produce it, they can also transfer the energy to other countries and also use that as a trading market to encourage the economic of different countries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. At this time, we have completed the group 3 finalists. I would remind the judges to please submit your final scores for each of these finalists. Also, at this time, we would like to check in on the voting status of the most popular finalists so far. And please take a look at the screen. Let's see who our favorites are. Most popular finalists so far. Take a look. We have a tie among the first 3 top finalists in terms of the favorites. We have Fatime Bakhtiari, Van Hanvo, and Jerry Yu, all in first place. Daniel Yang is in second place, and Zainab Hussein in third place. Don't forget to vote, everyone. It is always a good idea to wait until all of the competitors have spoken so that you can choose your favorite. Okay, I believe we can move forward to group 4. So we are down to the last 4 competitors, everyone. Thank you to our audience, our live audience, for being so patient and such great listeners. Our final 4 finalists for today. Finalist 13, Tanvi Nick. Finalist 14, Yulin Chu. Finalist 15, Zainab Hussein. And finalist 16, Zhishi Shu. So let's start with finalist 13, Tanvi Nek. You may begin whenever you are ready, Tanvi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, I'll begin. Across multiple galaxies in an infinite universe lies the only home we have, Earth. Ever since 4.5 billion years ago, it's been here. And throughout the centuries, it's been home to countless billions of humans, animals, and other living things. But in recent decades, we slowly started to take advantage. We've polluted our world, created an overwhelming amount of landfills, and inadvertently created the largest threat the planet faces today, climate change. And I believe it's because of the waste we've created and the economies we've built. I'll explain, but first let me introduce myself. Hello, my name is Tanvi Naik. I'm 14 years old and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. I want to thank the Global Youth Challenge, the organizers and judges for providing us all with a platform to share our thoughts on climate change, and my family for supporting me through this competition. Now, back to the explanation. I want you to think about your life and your daily routine. Have you considered where things go when you're done with them, once you've thrown them away? People forget once their things are tossed in the trash, but the reality is most of it ends up in landfills, taking hundreds of years to decompose, releasing harmful gases into the air we breathe. This is the result of a linear economy where we take, make, and waste. We take resources from the earth, make products, and waste these materials. And in the mining, manufacturing, and decomposing processes, this releases so much greenhouse gases. This linear economy is not sustainable. But there's hope. We need to change the way we live and move to an economy oriented around the environment. My proposed solution? A circular economy. It strives for a waste and emission-free world by following 3 measures. 1, eliminate greenhouse gases using renewable energy and green transportation. Number 2, circulate products and materials through incentivizing companies and implementing laws for more recycling and reusing materials. And number 3, regenerate nature by returning materials to the earth through composting and anaerobic digestion, which is a form of bacterial decay. Also, we must slow our mining processes and find alternatives so our precious resources are saved. By following these 3 measures, we can protect biodiversity, reduce or even eliminate waste and greenhouse gases, all while benefiting the economy, as the circular model will drive job growth and stimulate the economy. Last week, I was reading the news and came across an interesting article. Scientists found that plastic in the ocean had become intertwined with rocks on a remote island. It reminded me of the fact that around 8 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans each year. So I'll explain how plastic water bottles are treated in the 2 economies. First, in the linear economy, it's made with extracted resources which release more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And at the end, this water bottle will sit in landfills in our oceans for more than 500 years, emitting harmful toxins. But in a circular economy, companies could design a bottle using biodegradable TPU polymer, eliminating greenhouse gases, and this new polymer can be melted down to make other products, such as shoe soles, which Adidas has been doing for years now. Everyone can help our linear economy slowly transform to a circular one. First, be mindful of what you buy and what you throw away and how it'll impact the environment. Next, invest in organizations and call for action from policymakers to consider creating laws. And finally, spread the word about climate change, these economies, and waste. 8 billion people call Earth home, and we need to work together to protect it. This means fighting climate change through reducing our waste in landfills and the atmosphere, along with slowly transitioning and evolving our linear economy to a circular one. Like I mentioned at the start, in a vast universe with millions upon millions of planets, we have only one home, one Earth. So let's save our planet together.
Thank you, Tanvi. For your first question, I call upon Professor Liette Vasseur.
First of all, thank you very much. It was a very good speech, and I really like the idea. We need to get back to circular economy. But my question is especially related to how can we move the current economy? Because we have a linear economy, as you said. How would you go to explain and try to convince not only citizens, but also the corporation, the large corporation that are, in fact, in big part, the one who are doing the linear economy, and these days, even making the products even less and less sustainable so that they don't last, so we have to change every few years. So how would you go at the industry?
So I believe the transition from a linear economy to a circular economy will be a very gradual transition. We won't wake up to say entire cities going circular at once. Rather, the change always starts with the people. We need to advocate for the circular economy through PR campaigns, and policymakers must make laws that penalize companies for excessive waste and reward companies which are sustainable. And in time, I do believe businesses will become transitioning to the circular economy after they realize their business model will not last for, say, 100 to 50 years because it's not sustainable. Like I said, the linear economy, the circular economy does come with some benefits, and it's predicted to stimulate the economy by trillions of dollars because companies will have to pay less for manufacturing and extracted resources in the long run when they are recycling. And an example, I recently heard that H&M, which is a clothing and jean company, announced that they were going circular by avoiding harmful chemicals, fossil fuel-based energy sources, and single-use packaging. Once companies have gone circular, next it might be like cities, like Amsterdam, which has committed to going 50% circular by 2030.
I like your answer. It's interesting at the same time, H&M, they at the same time push for fab fashions, which is a very short-lived. So it's always a bit of a challenge, I would say, but I really like your answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for your second question, Tanvi, Professor Howard Lin.
Hi, Tavi. I really like your paper. It's like a scientific paper. You have a lot of citation. Evidently, you did research. So we talk about a circular economy. You mentioned a lot of examples in the city. Let's just talk about the countryside, agriculture, because I just went to a pig farm in China. So I realized not just China, a lot of developing countries really pay attention now, increasingly to circular agriculture. But my question, I come back to Canada. So I live here, right? I think you're from US, we're similar. Because we have for some, I have an answer, but I want to ask you opinion, comment. Why we do not exercise a lot of circular practice in North America compared to developing country? So we're not talking about the city. We understand the city situation, but agriculture. Do you have an idea why in the agriculture, the developing country seems take the lead, do circular thing, but we're not so much into it?
Yeah, so sadly, I do believe it's because these economies such as the US and Canada do prioritize making money. But however, in recent years, we've moved away from that. We've opened discussions on climate change. So I think now there's going to be more action and more circular aspects of our economies since we've been having these discussions. And in agriculture, we could use biomass energy, which I've actually done some research on. I think agriculture is not a huge part of our economies. It is very more prevalent in these other small developing countries. And this is because we need to so the US and Canada are one of the biggest producers of waste. And I think we need to cut back on that first, as it is one of the biggest contributors to climate change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now move forward to finalist number 14, Yulin Chu. Yulin, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Oh, yeah. I'm Yulin from Guangzhou, China. I'm a junior high school student, and thanks GYC for giving me such a wonderful stage to present my ideas and climate changes. And also, I want to thank all the judges and all the candidates for your time. Now, I will show my presentation. Nowadays, in addition to global warming, many climate changes affect our lives. With the development of the times and technology, people's living standards are rising, and the demand for factories is also increasing, which may lead to severe air pollution. Acid rain is one of them. Acid rain has occurred frequently in many areas. Since the 20th century, the scope of acid rain pollution in the world has expanded. At the same time, the acidity of acid rain is also gradually increasing. According to the report released by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, 302 lakes in the state were seriously damaged by acid rain, and the remaining 1,432 lakes were also threatened by acid rain. According to the State Environmental Protection Administration of China,
there were 298 cities with acid rain in China, accounting for 56.5% of the 527 statistical cities in the country. Besides, there were 218 cities with an average annual pH value of precipitation less than 5.6, accounting for 41.4% of the statistical cities. Acid rain is not only widely distributed, but also harmful. According to the National Surface Water Survey of the United States, acid rain has caused the acidification of 75% of lakes and about half of the rivers. Canadian government estimates that 43% of Canada's land, mainly in the east, is highly sensitive to acid rain. 14,000 lakes are acidic. In addition to lake acidification, acid rain also causes forest destruction, crop production reduction, human health damage, and building erosion. It can be seen from above that acid rain is terrible. In addition to acid rain, many other climate changes such as global warming and the greenhouse effect also affect our lives. These climate changes may lead to rising sea levels, damage the homes of animals and plants, and what worse, the disappearance of humans. The harm of climate change is across regions and borders, and no one can escape it. Climate change damage is also multifaceted with direct and potential harm to all living things. Many countries have formulated a series of governance measures to alleviate the harm that acid rain brings. In order to cope with climate change and promote sustainable development, China has made significant contributions to mitigating climate change by implementing policies and measures such as adjusting economy structure, improving energy efficiency, developing and utilizing hydropower and other renewable energy, strengthening ecological construction, and so on. In addition to country, people also need to take preventive measures in our daily life, such as recycling sulfur oxide and using low sulfur fuels, drive less, and take more public transport. Without human efforts and action, it will be difficult to alleviate the harms that the climate change brings. Therefore, protecting the environment is never just a word. Actions speak louder than words. The small move will affect the home of humanity. So try your best to protect the earth and we will have a better world. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulin. For your first question, Principal George Vanderkuur.
Thank you, Yulin. That was interesting because everybody else has been talking about climate change and you chose to talk about one aspect of our changing environment, and that is acid rain. Now, acid rain used to be a much bigger topic about 30 years ago, and it's still important. But some countries have taken good measures to reduce, at least to limit acid rain. Did you find out any of those measures that countries have taken to help reduce acid rain?
Can you repeat again? I don't understand what you mean.
Well, I know you're not in Ontario, so in Ontario, we've taken quite a few measures to reduce acid rain. And I was thinking that would be a good model for also reducing climate change. But can you name any examples of where a country has reduced acid rain? What kind of technology was used to do that?
Take China as an example. According to China Ecological Administration, in 2018, the frequency, the intensity of acid rain in Hubei province, one of the most severe acid rain zones in China, has fallen to the lowest in the past 12 years. According to the Ministry of Ecological and Environment of the People's Republic of China, the the proportion of acid rain areas in China total land decreased from 10.6% in 2013 to 5% in 2019. And I also read some information on the National Geographic website. It is said that after implementing controls, the sulfur dioxide emission in China have fallen 75% since 2007, which means that measures we've taken work. And now we use some of the technology to help to about the acid rain, like adjust economic pattern, and it means that China economic pattern changed from a high-speed pattern to high-quality pattern, and develop and utilize hydropower and other renewable energy. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, that's quite a detailed answer. Thank you very much.
And for your second question, Kelly Schultz.
Hello, Yulin. Who plays a bigger role in combating climate change? Is it government, corporations, or individuals, and why?
My computer has some question. Can you repeat again? I'm
Sure.
sorry.
No, who plays the bigger role in combating climate change? Is that through government, corporations, or individuals? And why do you select your answer?
I think sorry, let me think about it. In my country, now we use adjust economy pattern and develop and utilize hydropower and other renewable energy and strengthen ecological construction. And this is all government do work, and also the country and ourselves, we should protect the earth. We should protect the environment, and so we need to take action like government, but as a student, we can plant trees, like don't throw rubbish, and so on. And we should I live in a place that is not seriously affected by acid rain, but I don't think I can sit idle and do nothing. We are all parts of the global community. If we improve climate change like acid rain, because we are not affected, our Earth will become increasingly worse. Therefore, we must take measures to alleviate the harms of climate change. And as a student, I think we can work in our daily life, like plant more plants, take public transportation when going out, and don't waste food. And these measures can help decrease the sulfur oxide in our daily life. And if we humanity do not fail nature, nature will not fail us. And only when we make a joint effort can and we will build a clean and beautiful world for all of us. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both. We are now down to the last two finalists. Finalist number 15 is Zainab Hussein. Zainab, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you. Salam. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank the GYC organization for yet another incredible opportunity of achievement. And I would also like to give a very special thanks to everyone who has helped me come this far in the Global Youth Challenge. So to those of you who are watching, thank you. Now, close your eyes and imagine. Imagine that you are observing our wonderful world and you turn to where you expect to see the Amazon rainforest, but instead you see the Amazon desert. You turn again to where you now expect to see the Great Barrier Reef, but instead you see the Great Burial Reef. Not believing your eyes, you turn a third time to look for the aurora reflecting polar ice caps, but instead you see nothing. Now open your eyes up again. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just looked through the lens of the future generations. Hello, my name is Zainab Hussein and I'm a 9th grader at Ahl Bayt Islamic School. I re-entered the Global Youth Challenge because I had learned immensely from last year's experience, and this year I want to further expand my horizons and challenge myself once more. Concerning climate change effects on worldwide populations, I chose to talk about how climate change is specifically affecting animal populations around the globe. I chose this topic because I believe between a balance between nature and humanity. And while humankind has spent millennia trying to attain that balance, nature had it from the beginning, but eventually lost it because of our actions. And we now owe it back to nature. I agree with Sir David Attenborough, English broadcaster, writer, and naturalist, when he states that nature once determined how we survive. Now we determine how nature survives. While researching about how climate change affects the natural world, I looked further into what climate change is in itself. Simply put, climate change refers to a long-term transference in temperature and weather patterns. This phenomenon was deemed natural. However, in light of recent years, human activities have become the main contributor to it, and a dangerous one at that. Nevertheless, Sir David Attenborough's extensive research has not only revealed the issue from its very root, but prepared the seeds of solution to be planted. Climate change is a pandemic, millennia in the making, one that cannot be stopped by masks nor vaccines. So may I turn your attention to a suggestion made by Prince EA, which states that if a farmer wants to diagnose a sick tree, he doesn't look at the branches, but instead the roots. So rather than turning to the branches of government, we should turn to the root of the problem. And the root of this problem is us and our actions towards nature. Because of fossil fuels, extreme agricultural expansion due to excessive food production, and the acidification of oceans and wilderness destruction, the natural world has been choked, burnt, poisoned, and destroyed. Now that we have diagnosed the sick tree, let us treat it. We now turn back to the roots, and the root of this ever-needed solution is us and our coming actions towards nature. By adopting renewable energy, efficient food consumption and production, a treaty on the use of international waters, and proper wilderness restoration, humankind can relieve, cure, heal, and rebuild the natural world. The flowers that will bloom from these seeds of solution are reducing mass emissions and slowing ocean acidification, saving up land space, agricultural land space, and providing humankind with healthier and more affordable food production. Also, restoring the ocean's natural health and fish supply for universal benefit and allowing wilderness to flourish. You can help by getting out there and taking action. Go online on ourplanet.com, sign up and donate or volunteer. Sir David Attenborough said, "If working apart, we are a force powerful enough to destabilize our planet, then surely working together, we are powerful enough to save it." Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab. For your first question, Professor Liette Vasseur.
Thank you for your beautiful speech. I really like it. I agree that we can all get together. It will be a lot better to move ahead. My question is about, you mentioned about agriculture and excessive production. Is it really excessive production, or probably more the way that we do it in terms of all the impacts from all the chemicals, the way that we probably expand it, but not the right way? What do you think?
First of all, thank you for your awesome question, Professor Liette. So to clarify, you're asking whether excessive production is the issue or the methods of production is the issue?
But do we really have excessive production? Because we still have, almost 2 billion people who are without food in some cases.
Yes, you're right. There are a lot of people that don't have food today. But when it comes to production versus the way of production, it's interlinked. One way is interlinked. The way of production would tell if it's essential or not. I do believe that we do have excessive production because there are countries that are excessively expanding agricultural land. This is a fact. So even though there are countries that are living in poverty that don't have food, it's because the other countries have double or triple the normal food that they're supposed to have. So I do believe in that. And when it comes to the ways of production, like the methods that we use on agricultural land, there are right and wrong ways. There are chemicals that are produced, like nitrogen. We use a lot of nitrogen, and it's excessively polluting our planet. We waste a lot of water. We don't have an essential way of watering our plants. Of course, these ways do affect climate change, and I think that it's interlinked. They're both equally focused upon, and both of them should be concerned. Both of them are concerning. We should fix our methods towards how we're using our agricultural land, and we should equalize the proportions of our excessive food production.
Perfect. And I think when you talk about excessive production, I think in some way it's distribution, and that is the big problem. That we, especially in the global north, we tend to have a lot more than we really need. That's also a problem too. Yeah, thank you very much.
Also, it's like meat production. We overhunt, we overfish, things like that. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
And for your second question, I call upon Professor Chiyuan Miao.
Okay, Janet, from your YouTube video, I know you had already attended GYC 2022, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I also know the topic in GYC 2022 is about AI.
Yes.
Right. So do you have any, do you ever think, can we use the method of AI to contribute our actions in fighting the climate change?
Thank you for that amazing question, Mr. Professor. So your question is, when battling against climate change, can we implement AI?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So for this, I'd like to go back to whenever people talk about, okay, hey, let's change to renewables. Okay, hey, let's implement this. Let's clean our oceans. Let's start these factories instead of these ones. People go right down to the economy. And in order to stabilize that, in order to increase people's stability and morale, we have to show that we're providing new jobs for these certain people that are going to lose their jobs because they were working with fossil fuels. Now they're working with windmills. So people are worried about losing their jobs in the economy wise. So I feel like since countries have already planned, like for example, Australia, for the past 30 years, 97% of Australia's top 10 exported goods have been dominated by fossil fuels, and they can change that. They want to change that. But the thing is that when they're changing from fossil fuels to renewables, they have this plan. Once they're changing their top 10 exports, changing into clean exports, they can make $89 billion out of it. They can support 395,000 jobs for people. So since this is already a solution for people who are worried about their jobs, I personally wouldn't try implementing AI, as AI is already taking over human jobs. So maybe it would keep the economy. Maybe there would be an easy way to keep the economy, but then you have all these jobless people. And of course, there are people that need to build the AI, but I feel like for one step at a time, we should have more people working together, because my idea revolves around connecting the people together rather than advancing technology in itself. Was that adequate?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you both. I would like to now introduce our last finalist for today. Finalist number 16 is Jushi Xu. Jushi, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carrie Xu Ziqi, and I'm from China. Today, I'm glad to bring you the topic that climate change and the future of our world. Have you ever heard of the extreme droughts in China 2022? The big flood in Malawi, the road heat wave up to 49 degrees in India. Did you know that over the past decades, the sea level has risen? Are you aware of some problems like the water shortage, desertification, or the disappearance of lake? All these things are related to climate change. Over the past centuries, climate everywhere changed a lot. All these situations are consequences of global warming, which mean the temperatures increased owing mainly to human activities. There are a series of contributors that have led to climate change, among which greenhouse gases are the major killer. You know, our Earth is surrounded by atmosphere, whose mission is to absorb part of energy, receive and maintain the planet's temperatures. And greenhouse gases are like a blanket covering our Earth. One of the main gases is carbon dioxide. With the industrial revolutions, we burn coal to make electricity, we burn oil to make our cars and planes move, we cut down lots of trees, we dump lots of trash on the landfills, and all these things release greenhouse gases. And because of human activities, the blanket became much, much thicker. To be more specific, the presence of CO2 emission in atmosphere has been increased, and for this reason, its capacities to retain the solar radiation has been enhanced, causing the increase in temperatures of our planet. Climate change affects every country in the world, causing a negative impact on economy, people's life, and all living beings. It is reported that over the past 150 years, the average global temperatures has increased almost 34 degrees Fahrenheit. If the temperatures keeps rising, the sea gets warmer, glaciers and ice sheets are melting, causing the sea level to rise. And because of that, some places may disappear one day, like Venice and Maldives. What's worse, some places are getting drier and drier, and all living things are getting into troubles. Plants, animals, and humans will one day in dire straits. Worse consequences are predicted to happen in the near future if we don't take measures urgently. Currently, there are some viable solutions. First, governments and influential organizations should shoulder the biggest responsibility. It is necessary for them to develop renewable energy, like the wind power, water power, geothermal energy, or nuclear energy to reduce the CO2 emissions. Also, cars are responsible for 10% of the CO2 emissions, so using the public transportation like the buses or bicycles are a good way to protect our environment. Next, plant more trees. Every year on March 12 is our National Tree Planting Days. Our cities will organize some activities in our Central Park to call on the public to plant more trees. Furthermore, always recycle. There is an interesting fact that we use less energy to make paper from those old newspapers than we make it directly from trees. Last but not least, as we are the teenager, we can do some small things that are helpful. For example, turn off the light whenever we're not needed. We can also join some volunteer work to pick up the plastic waste to reduce the pollutions. Although my speech have to stop here, but our step toward fighting against the climate change, protecting our Earth have never stopped. I believe through our hard work bit by bit, we can make our world a better place. Thank you.
He's really good.
Thank you, Jushi. For your first question, Professor Katharine Hayhoe.
Hi, I really enjoyed your presentation and your essay, but I have one little question for you. How much do you think the Earth has warmed?
Pardon, can you speak?
How many degrees has the Earth warmed?
Oh, the Earth has warmed 34 degrees Fahrenheit.
So the Earth started off at 57 or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and now the Earth is 94 degrees Fahrenheit?
No.
It's not. So when you convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, if you're converting a change, you don't subtract 32.
Okay.
The Earth has warmed by 1.1 degrees Celsius, which is almost 2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, sorry, it's my fault. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, but your presentation was very good, but just be very careful with your numbers.
Sorry, it's my fault.
And for your second question, Professor Ruth Hayhoe.
Hello, Susie. This was a really lively and dynamic presentation. And China now has a huge influence in the world, not only within China. We know it's become a very, very important contribution to the issues of climate change because of the vast economy and the very rapid economic transformation that's taken place. So I wonder if you could highlight from your observation within China, what are the most effective responses that you are seeing in China that may also be a model for the world in terms of good response to climate change problems?
From my observations, okay, thanks for your question, Professor. And from my observations in China, China's government's always actively making the policies to fighting against the climate change. They also take care of the publics, and they also join the world's issues. They give lots of supporting in words that fight against the climate change, and they also suggesting their own opinions in global issues to fight against the climate change. And these are all China's do the contributions to the world, I think.
Thank you. I think that's true. It's good to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have now come to the end of our presentations of the 16 finalists for today. It is a very important time, and we will need to be patient for the next little while. The calculations will be done to determine our winners. At this time, I would like to have some conversation and some feedback and reflection from our judges, beginning with Professor Katharine Hayhoe. At this time also, I am very happy to announce that all of our 16 finalists will receive a copy of Professor Katharine Hayhoe's book, Saving Us. Let me see if I can get it on the screen. Maybe, maybe not. So the book is called Saving Us, A Climate Scientist's Case for Hope and Healing in a Divided World. And if I could please call upon Professor Katharine Hayhoe to share with us some details and ideas of what our finalists can take from your book with their learning and what this book can teach them about being a young person and what can they do to support the cause connected to climate change.
Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, everyone, and congratulations on your presentations. Every presentation was so well prepared. I could tell that what you were sharing came from your heart. You shared things that you were passionate about, things that you were interested in, and you all had a different perspective on this issue. And that's exactly what we need. There's no one perfect approach. There's no one perfect set of skills. We need everybody to be helping, and that is what you are already doing. So often we feel like, and I teach myself, so I speak to students all the time and I hear from students, and many people feel like, what can I do to make a difference? Well, each of you are already doing something to make a difference. Because the first most important thing that you can do is to make sure people know that this is a problem, that this is affecting our lives. It's not only about the polar bears or about the future, but it's about what's happening where we live, and that there are solutions. And I love that you talked about so many different solutions, all the way from looking at solutions related to food, solutions related to clean energy, solutions related to how we get our clothes or how we get to school. There are solutions all around us. And how do people find out about these solutions? They find out about them when we talk about them and when we share them. And I know you're already doing that. So I want to tell you something that's very encouraging, and that is that our actions and our words are contagious in a good way. These days, contagious is usually a bad word because we're thinking about COVID. But when we think about positive things, they can be contagious too. When somebody sees you doing something, or when they hear you talking about something, that's when they think, oh, maybe I could try that too. And the science has shown that these changes are contagious. So for example, what predicts whether somebody will have solar panels on their house? Well, it turns out that in many places, the number one prediction of whether someone will have solar panels is if a neighbor got them first. What makes people try something different? What makes people think about, again, how they get to school, where they get their energy, what they eat? Also, what they say when they're sharing with their friends or on social media, they think about that because other people have said it first. So there's a famous saying from Mother Teresa that says, one person by themselves can't change the world. But what we can do is we can drop a little pebble into a pond, and then you see these ripples spread out across the pond, and it changes the whole pond. So each of you are like a little pebble, and you are dropping into the pond where you live, all the people you know, all the other people that you're connected with, and I know that you are already changing people's lives. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hayhoe. At this time, I would like to invite Professor Liette Vasseur to provide some reflection and some thoughts based on today's presentations by our top 16 students.
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be a judge on this Global Youth Challenge. And I have to admit that I really enjoyed all of them. All the participants have been wonderful in terms of the way that they express themselves, the way that they bring some information, and it gives me hope in some way, because it's the next generation. Is the next decision makers of tomorrow. So it's important to see the way that they want to bring this together, and they can make more change than probably the previous generations. And this is something that's important. It's important because I'm a UNESCO chair on community sustainability, and when I think about sustainability, climate change is a big factor, because we know that if our planet is not healthy, we will not be healthy. And this is something that we have to keep in mind. And one thing that was clear, without probably necessarily any of them talking about it directly, but it's that everything is connected to everything. You all talked about some of the pieces that came up during and what are the complexity of climate change, because it's what we call a wicked problem. It's a wicked problem because everything is connected to everything, and there's no one solution. And what you're did is contributing to different pieces of the puzzle. And I think that's wonderful. I would like to see even more people doing that, more students being involved in this, because it's really bring a good perspective of what's happening in the world. And we have to remember at the same time that any step we do has an impact. That you get up in the morning, you have an impact. That you go and brush your teeth, you have an impact, depending on, and your impact will depend on, okay, are you leaving the tap on all the time, or are you turning off when you brush your teeth? So it's very, very simple, but we all have something to do in it. And so I really, really enjoyed this exercise, this challenge, and it gives me hope for the future. Thank you very much.
So here at the Arundel Academy, there are some very important calculations happening in the background. We are all waiting very patiently, and we know that it is highly important that these calculations be done accurately so that we may determine the winners of today's competition. At this time, I would like to open up the commentary to our other judges who may like to share some general feedback, recommendations for these wonderful students who have done such an excellent job today. I welcome you to join in with the conversation. Whatever you would like to say is welcome.
Okay. First of all, want to congratulate everybody, every student, you're all winners, I think. Can I ask a copy of the book from Professor Hayhoe myself? I'm not kidding. I think the young people now taking the lead, we're learning. I think I remember Anthony Wong's presentation. His survey suggests the teacher also need training. We're not in the environmental protection and the climate change. I think the young people are really leading the cause. I say this because in 2018, just before the pandemic, I went to Africa, Tanzania, went to the village to follow my son, because he was a student from Waterloo. Two of them were sent on a project to install solar in the village. In the past, I had a chance to travel to Africa, but sometimes I feared because I don't want to take those vaccines. But this time, I know this is the right way to spend your time. So I went there, spent some time. So let me just conclude. I see young people from all over the world. Now we have from India, Vietnam, China, Canada, United States. The next time, I want to see if some kids, some young people from Africa, Deborah. So congratulations to the great event.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Lin. It is always wonderful to have you with us for the competition. I appreciate your efforts and your thoughts. Anyone else from our panel of judges who would like to contribute to the conversation and or to ask questions of each other?
Well, I'll say something from a slightly different point of view, is that I really want to congratulate our live audience, because we've been sitting for a long time, and we haven't had the use of technology. So yeah, thank you very much, live audience, for being so attentive. And I'm sure everybody at home was also very attentive. And but it was very good today, and everything was, and the people working behind the scenes, everything seemed to work very smoothly this year. So congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, George. Paul.
Okay, my name is Paul. I'm president of GYC. So I'd like to use this chance to thank all judges for your support, GYC for your support for youth leadership development. GYC is a global platform. We talk about global issues. We develop global youth leadership. So thank all judges. You ask very good questions. Most questions ask about actions. So students come to participate, talk about climate change, means you have visions about climate change, but what is action? GYC, we're going to develop leadership. So leadership is vision, action, and influence. So technology makes us connect together. So GYC platform, so use this platform, what you can do. So one action is for climate change. You can do some practical issues, practical things for climate change. Another thing is you can use GYC. Through GYC, we make a connection. We make a communication. By communication, we make a connection. By connection, we can make influence. So how to create your influence on others? This is leadership. This is very important. Thanks for Professor Ruth Hayhoe. I took her course. I'm her students. So my global view is influenced by Ruth Hayhoe. This is why I found the GYC platform, because I realized the world is not peaceful, it's conflict. How we can make work peaceful? We need every individual contribute a little bit. We can make better work, good work. So right now, I think we're not short of technology. What we're short of is leadership. So we need to lead how to manage the world, how to lead the world. What is the climate change? Climate change is caused majorly by what? By technology. So how to use technology to solve climate change? How to manage technology, specifically AI. Last year, our topic is AI and the future of humankind. So we talked about AI 1 year ago. So AI came to market right now. So ChatGPT came to market, people get panic. Many schools, high schools, are banning ChatGPT, means we're not ready to manage ChatGPT. 2 years ago, we talked about world peace. After 1 year, the war happened. So it means we need a peaceful world. We need develop youth leadership. So this is so important, especially for right now for how to manage technology. I realized right now technology develop much faster than management, than leadership. So it means leadership is way behind of technology development. So we need to develop leadership. So this summer, I designed a program called Future AI Leadership Camp. And the next year, our topic is AI and the future of work. So Professor Miao make a connect with climate change and AI. So he asked the question, how to connect the climate change and AI. So next year, welcome you participate our competition. In this case, you can talk more about AI, talk more about climate change and AI. Okay, thank you all judges, all participate, all students here. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Thank you, Paul. I would like to call upon Professor Ruth Hayhoe, who has some comments.
Yes, I just want to ask if today's event will be available for us to circulate. I know many people are interested to hear what the young generation has to say about climate change. And if we could have a link, I believe you have recorded this event. It is quite lengthy, but it would be wonderful to be able to share it. I'd like to share it on our SIDEC list at OIC. I'd like to share it with my church, where we have a great concern about these issues. So I just wanted to ask, are you going to make that available to us, and when it would be available to us? Thank you so much.
It were available in 1 week.
1 week, good.
Yes, yeah.
So
We talk about action, we are fast.
Thank you for your request. And yes, we will definitely follow up and share the link, as Paul indicated, within the next week. I would like to ask Kelly Schultz to make a commentary. Kelly has been with us for 3 years now with the GYC. And as a representative from the University of Waterloo, and you having seen these wonderful students for 3 years, what do you see some of these students moving forward to, perhaps at Waterloo University or any other university? What kind of sites should they have upon their future learning?
That's a great question. Thank you. I would just like to take an opportunity to thank the GYC committee, as well as all the students. Your presentations and your essays and your artwork were phenomenal. It's truly inspiring to see that the next generation could hold the change, could hold the resolution to climate change. I would like to see these students, to echo what Paul said, is to take action and to make those actionable. There's so many innovations that can be made from all of these technologies that I would like to see that being implemented. I wish everybody the best of luck. It was a great time to be here. Thank you. And again, I'm inspired by the intelligence of the next generation. So thank you.
So where are we in the calculations, Anton? I will ask from the sidelines.
The calculation has been completed. The results are ready now.
Okay.
And we make the announcement.
Yes, so all the calculations are ready. Decisions have been made, scores have been tabulated.
Okay.
We are ready to make an announcement. All right. I would like to announce officially that the results are in, and I will read through the results for the certificates. So number 1 certificate is for Alex Ton, who is the special mention in the Climate Change in the Future of Our World Essay and Presentation Contest 2023. This is a certificate of distinction for Alex Ton. And the next certificate. This certificate is presented to Daicheng Yang, and this is for the most popular finalist in the Climate Change and Future of Our World Essay and Presentation Contest. So once again, the certificate of distinction is presented to Daicheng Yang for most popular finalists. Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this point, I will announce that we will be introducing third place winners. There will be 10 third place winners. There will be 5 second place winners, and of course, first place winners. There is 1. There is only 1.
Next slide.
This is the third place winner, certificate of distinction, Faiza Nanjiba. Congratulations, Faiza, as a third place winner. Another third place winner goes to Daicheng Yang. Congratulations. The next third place winner is Rui Sheng. Congratulations, Rui. The next third place winner, Anne Nguyen. Congratulations, Anne. The next third place winner, Alexandra Ma. Congratulations. Jerry Yu. Another third place winner. And Yulin Wu. And next third place winner, Fatima Bakhtari. Third place winner, Isabel Snare. Third place winner, Zishi Zhu. Now we are at the second place winners. There are 5 second place winners. Hadi Patel. Second place winner, Zainab Hussein. Second place winner, Jimin So. Second place winner, Anthony Wang. Second place winner, Han Vo. And let's just have a moment. I would like to announce this year's winner. Certificate of Distinction presented to Tanvi Nek, the winner of Global Change and the Future of Our World Contest 2023, Tanvi Nek.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all of our winners and all of our participants. You have done an absolutely wonderful job at representing the youth and your opinions and ideas for solutions. I will now announce that the GYC 2004 focus will be on AI and the future of our world. I encourage all of you to become part of the 2024 competition. And I will officially now conclude. This is now the end of our Global Youth Challenge 2023 Essay and Speech Competition. The live finals is now at an end. Thank you for being with us today, and good luck with all of your endeavors to our participants. Thank you.
We would like to take screenshots of all the finalists and their judges on the screen. So we would like to ask all the finalists to turn on your camera and then look at the camera, then we can have a screenshot.
Okay, so all of the finalists, please turn on your cameras so that we may take a screenshot of all 16 finalists and our 7 judges. So if you could please follow those instructions, we will take a screenshot so we have a view of everyone who participated today. Turn on your cameras, please.
We show.
Okay. All right.
For the audiences,
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day. We love to have you with us.
You need to interview the first place winner and I the one. Okay. Just notify them with he may want to interview.
Yeah.
First place winner and I the one.
So I would like to ask the first place winner and Anthony Wong to remain with us. So first place winner and Anthony Wong, please stay with us for some interviews.
The screenshot for group photo, every participant.
Okay.
Can you share how to share?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's good. Excellent.
Yeah, we can send it to them. Yes, and you know. Timing is perfect.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
They want to see the group photo. Let's see. Yes, yeah, it's okay. It's sure.
It doesn't show everyone.
How to get a group photo?
Participants, if you're still with us, please open your camera.
Yeah, group photo.
Participants, if you're still with us, would you please open your camera?
It's like a zebra screen. Just like.
Yeah. Participants, if you are still with us, please open your camera. We want to take another photo. You're so popular. I know it's late in some countries, so thank you for remaining here with us. And Tanvi and Anthony, you're going to stay with us for some interviews. Is that okay? Do you have time?
Yes.
Tanvi, what country are you in?
I'm in the US.
In the US? In the US? Okay. I'm just checking on timelines. Anthony, you're in the US?
Yeah. But I think my class started at 12:50. So I guess I can
By
wait.
what time? Okay, so how long do you have right now? How much time do you have?
I mean, I can stay. I can stay as long as I want, but it just it would be better if it's just quicker. Yeah. Thank you really much.
Well, let us know. We don't want you to miss your class. So
It's fine.
let us
I
know.
already informed the school about I might be missing.
Okay, but still, you want to make an appearance.
Thank you.
And Tanvi, are you okay with your time?
Yes, I'm good. I can stay.
Yeah, you're okay? Okay. So just stay with us, and once we get things set up, we will do the interviews with you.
Yeah.
It's nice to see you. And safe travel home.
Yes, thank you. You as well. It was a great event.
It always is. Fresh perspective on.
I feel like I have done nothing in my life when I hear what some of these students are doing.
Do you want to make an interview?
I just.
How do I turn
Thank
it off?
you so much.